Chapter 1. The Rejection. The blood moon hung low and red over the sacred clearing, and my heart pounded so hard I thought everyone could hear it. This is it. Tonight he chooses me. Tonight I finally belong. 300 wolves surrounded the ritual space, their eyes reflecting the crimson light as the ancient ceremony began. The air crackled with power, electric, primal, overwhelming. All around me, golden threads were forming, shimmering bonds connecting mates as they found each other under the moon's blessing. Gasps of joy, whispered declarations, the magic of destiny weaving itself visible. And I felt it too. The pull in my chest was unmistakable, an invisible cord yanking me forward through the crowd, toward him. Marcus Ashwood stood at the center of the clearing, the future alpha of Silvermoon Pack, his sandy hair gleaming in the moonlight. Strong, confident, everything an alpha should be. Everything I'd dreamed about for years. My feet moved without permission, carrying me through the sea of bodies. Wolves stepped aside, their gazes following me with expressions I couldn't read. Pity? Curiosity? I pushed the thoughts away. The bond was real. I could feel it burning in my chest, hot and insistent and right. Marcus turned as I approached, and our eyes met. My wolf stirred inside me, or what passed for my wolf, that weak, sleeping thing that had never once let me shift. But now I felt her wake, because of him, because of the bond. "Marcus," I breathed, stopping before him. My voice trembled with hope I couldn't hide. His face changed. Horror flickered across his features, there and gone so fast I almost missed it. Then disgust settled in its place, hardening his jaw, narrowing his eyes. He took a step back, and that movement felt like a slap. The clearing fell silent. Marcus drew himself up, his alpha authority radiating outward, and when he spoke, his voice carried to every corner of the sacred space, loud, clear, deliberately cruel. "I, Marcus Ashwood, reject this Omega as my mate." The words hit me like physical blows. The bond in my chest, that beautiful burning thing, twisted into something sharp, jagged, wrong. He wasn't finished. "She's too defective to carry strong heirs from my pack." His lip curled. No wolf, no value, no future. Silence. Complete suffocating silence. 300 wolves stared at me, at the broken Omega standing alone in the center of the ritual ground, rejected in front of everyone who mattered. Last week, he smiled at me by the training grounds, asked how I was. I thought he cared. I thought maybe, just maybe, someone finally saw me. I was wrong. The bond shattered. I'd never felt anything like it, a ripping sensation in my chest, like claws tearing through flesh and muscle and bone. The golden thread snapped, recoiled, turned to ash. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The pain was everywhere, radiating outward until my entire body felt like it was being torn apart. Whispers erupted around me. Poor thing, she can't even shift. What was she thinking? Marcus is right. Omega blood is weak enough without... Did she really believe he'd choose her? Their words blurred together, a chorus of pity and scorn that made my skin crawl. My vision swam. Tears burned hot trails down my cheeks, and I hated myself for crying, hated myself for hoping, hated myself for being stupid enough to believe I could ever be wanted. I ran, pushed through the crowd, stumbling over roots and rocks as I fled into the forest, away from the ritual, away from their stares, away from the shattered remains of a bond that lasted less than a minute. The trees swallowed me, dark and dense and blessedly empty. I ran until my lungs burned, until my legs gave out, until I collapsed against an ancient oak and sobbed like a pathetic, broken thing everyone knew I was. "Why?" I gasped to the uncaring forest. My chest heaved with ragged breaths. The pain of rejection pulsed through every nerve, a constant reminder of my worthlessness. 22 years of being invisible, of being the pack's burden, of the only wolf who couldn't shift, couldn't contribute, couldn't... Heat exploded in my chest. Not the gentle warmth of the broken bond. This was different. Searing, volcanic. It burned through the pain of rejection, consumed it, replaced it with something so intense I cried out and fell to my knees. What was happening? Heavy footsteps approached through the darkness, steady, confident, dangerous. I looked up, tears still streaming down my face, and froze while my blood ran cold. A man emerged from the shadows between the trees, and the word man felt insufficient. He was massive, taller than Marcus, broader, with a presence that made the air itself feel heavy. Power radiated from him in waves that made my skin prickle and my weak wolf whimper in recognition of something far beyond her understanding. Black hair, sharp features, and eyes, golden eyes, locked on me with an intensity that stole what little breath I had left. The heat in my chest became an inferno. "Stop running, little Omega," he said, and his voice was dark velvet wrapped around steel. I knew that voice. Every wolf in the 5 territories knew that voice. Alpha King Theron Nightshade had just told me to stop running, and every instinct I possessed screamed the impossible truth. Mine.
Chapter 2. The Alpha King appears. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't do anything but stare at the man. No, the legend, standing before me like he'd stepped out of a nightmare. Or a dream. I couldn't tell which. Alpha King Theron Nightshade, ruler of the 5 territories, the most powerful wolf alive. And he was looking at me like I was the only thing in the world that mattered. That's impossible," I whispered, scrambling backward against the oak tree. Dirt and leaves clung to my dress, the one I'd chosen so carefully for tonight, the one I'd hoped Marcus would like. You can't." "I can." He moved closer, and it wasn't walking so much as prowling, every step deliberate, graceful, predatory. And I do. The heat in my chest intensified, burning away the lingering pain of Marcus's rejection like it had never existed. This was different, stronger, a bond that didn't ask permission, it demanded. My wolf, that pathetic sleeping thing, suddenly surged to consciousness. "Mine," she snarled with a ferocity I'd never felt from her. "Ours. Mate." "No." I shook my head frantically, tears still wet on my cheeks. "This is a mistake. I'm nothing. I'm broken. I can't even shift properly. He was in front of me before I could finish, dropping to one knee so we were eye level. Up close, he was devastating. Sharp jaw shadowed with stubble, full lips set in a firm line, those golden eyes burning with an intensity that made my stomach flip. His hand reached out slowly, giving me time to pull away. I didn't. His palm cupped my cheek, and electricity exploded through me. The bond sang, a chorus of rightness that drowned out every doubt, every fear, every cruel word Marcus had spoken. Heat bloomed where his skin touched mine, spreading through my body like wildfire. "You feel it," he said. Not a question, a statement of absolute fact. I couldn't deny it. The pull between us was undeniable, a golden thread far stronger than anything I'd felt with Marcus. This wasn't gentle, it was overwhelming, consuming, terrifying. "Why?" The word came out broken. "Why would you, the Alpha King, why would the moon bond you to someone like me?" His thumb brushed away a tear from my cheek, the gesture so tender that it made my chest ache. "Because you're mine. That makes you everything." "You don't even know me." "I know enough." His voice dropped lower, intimate. "I know you're stronger than you think. I know you've survived in a pack that made you believe you were worthless. I know that right now, every instinct in my body is screaming at me to kill the male who hurt you." The possessiveness in his tone should have scared me. Instead, it sent a shiver down my spine that had nothing to do with fear. I don't understand any of this. An hour ago, I was invisible. Now you're seen. He stood, and in one smooth motion, lifted me into his arms like I weighed nothing. What? No! I pushed against his chest, but it was like pushing against stone. Put me down! I can't just... Everyone will see exactly what you are. He turned, carrying me back toward the clearing, back toward the ritual, back toward 300 witnesses who just watched me get publicly rejected. Panic clawed up my throat. Please, please don't do this. The humiliation was bad enough. I can't face them again. He stopped walking, those golden eyes fixed on mine with an intensity that stole my breath. Do you feel the bond? He asked quietly. Yes, but do you feel how real it is? How right? I wanted to lie, wanted to deny it, but the heat in my chest, the way my wolf was practically purring in his presence, the electricity singing through my veins where his hands held me, I couldn't. Yes, I admitted in a small voice. Then trust it. Trust me. His expression softened just slightly. They will never make you feel small again. I promise you that. Before I could respond, he was moving again, long strides that ate up the distance between us and the clearing, between us and my worst nightmare. What are you going to do? My voice came out small, frightened. He looked down at me, and something fierce and possessive blazed in his golden eyes. Claiming what belongs to me. We emerged from the forest into the sacred clearing, and 300 pairs of eyes turned to stare. Marcus stood frozen in the center, his face draining of all color as he recognized who carried me. Alpha King Theron Nightshade had come to the blood moon ritual, and he was holding the rejected Omega in his arms like she was made of precious metal. The heat in my chest exploded into an inferno, and I knew with absolute certainty that my life had just changed forever.
Chapter 3: The Impossible Claim. I'd come to the blood moon ritual out of duty, nothing more. 5 years of attending these ceremonies, watching wolves find their mates, feeling the emptiness where Seraphina's bond used to burn. 5 years of pack alphas offering their daughters, their sisters, their finest she-wolves, all politely declined. I'd sworn never to take another mate, sworn it on Seraphina's grave. The moon had other plans. The bond hit me like lightning splitting a tree, sudden, violent, undeniable. I'd been standing at the edge of the clearing, ready to leave, when power exploded through my chest with enough force to drive me to one knee. Impossible. But there it was, golden thread blazing to life, stronger than anything I'd felt with Seraphina, pulling me toward a small Omega running into the forest, crying, broken. Every instinct I possessed roared to life, protect, claim, destroy whoever hurt her. My wolf surged forward, demanding I follow, demanding I find her, demanding I make her mine. I pushed thoughts of Seraphina down deep. Guilt could wait. My mate was in pain, and I would kill anyone who stood between us.
The silence in the clearing was absolute. Theron set me down in the center of the ritual space, but his hand remained possessive on my waist, holding me steady. Or maybe holding me prisoner. I couldn't tell which, couldn't sink past the feeling of every eye boring into me. Marcus stood 10 feet away, his face pale, his confident alpha aura completely gone. He looked like he'd seen a ghost. No, he looked like he'd just realized he'd made a catastrophic mistake. Alpha King, someone stammered. I recognized Alpha Thomas, Marcus's father, and leader of Silver Moon Pack. He bowed low, respect and fear evident in every line of his body. We did not expect, that is, we're honored by your presence. I didn't come for pleasantries. Theron's voice cut through the air like a blade, and I felt half the wolves in the clearing flinch, felt his alpha command ripple outward, a pressure that made submission instinctive. I should have bowed too, should have lowered my eyes, but something in me, maybe my wolf, maybe the bond, maybe just sheer shock, kept my spine straight. Theron looked down at me and his expression softened just a fraction. His thumb traced small circles on my waist, a gesture so intimate it made heat flood my cheeks. Then he turned back to the crowd, and his power expanded like a shockwave. I claim this Omega as my true mate. The words echoed across the sacred clearing, final, absolute, binding. Chaos erupted, gasps, shocked whispers. Someone dropped a ceremonial bowl with a crash that made me jump. But Alpha King, that was Elder Moira, the ancient wolf who'd overseen mating rituals for 50 years. She approached cautiously, her weathered face confused. Forgive me, but she has no wolf. How can the bond be true? The growl that rumbled from Theron's chest made the ground vibrate. Wolves all around us dropped to their knees involuntarily, unable to resist the alpha command in that sound. Even Elder Moira took a step back. You question my bond? Each word dripped with danger. You question what the moon herself has chosen? No, Alpha King, I only... The heat in my chest suddenly intensified. Not gradually, not gently. It went from warm to burning in the space of a heartbeat, and I gasped, pressing my hand to my sternum. Pain lanced through me, sharp, bright, overwhelming. Freya? Theron's voice changed, concern replacing command. His hand tightened on my waist. What's wrong? I couldn't answer, couldn't breathe. The heat was everywhere now, racing through my veins like liquid fire. My wolf wasn't just stirring, she was screaming, trying to claw her way to the surface with a desperation I'd never felt. Something was happening, something impossible. Light exploded from my body, silver, blinding, pure. I heard screams, heard wolves crying out in shock, but I couldn't see anything past the radiance pouring from my skin. It didn't hurt anymore. Instead, it felt like something breaking free, like chains I'd never known existed were shattering one by one. When the light finally faded, I was on my knees, gasping for breath. Theron knelt beside me, one arm around my shoulders, his body positioned protectively between me and the crowd. Look at her arms, someone whispered. I looked down. Silver marks covered my skin, intricate patterns that seemed to move in the moonlight, swirling from my wrists up to my shoulders. They glowed softly, pulsing in time with my heartbeat. Ancient symbols I didn't recognize, but somehow knew deep in my bones. Moon's mercy, Elder Moira breathed. Her voice shook. Eclipse bloodline. The prophecy was true. What? I stared at the marks, then at the elder. What prophecy? She didn't answer. She was staring at my eyes. I could see my reflection in her wide pupils. My eyes were pure silver, luminous, glowing like the marks on my skin. The first wolves, Moira whispered, dropping to her knees. The bloodline of the moon herself. We thought it died out centuries ago. The clearing erupted in shocked murmurs. I heard fragments, impossible, lunar power, ancient blood, but none of it made sense. My legs felt weak, trembling under me. The power still singing through my body was too much, too overwhelming, too everything. Theron's arms caught me before I could fall. I've got you, he murmured against my hair, his voice gentle in a way that contrasted sharply with the alpha he'd been moments ago. Always. My vision swam, the world tilted sideways. The last thing I saw before darkness claimed me was Theron's golden eyes, fierce and protective, and filled with something that looked almost like awe. and I heard his voice cutting through the chaos with absolute authority. She comes with me to Nightshade territory. Anyone object? The silence that followed was answer enough. No one, not Marcus, not Alpha Thomas, not a single wolf in that clearing dared to challenge the Alpha King. As consciousness slipped away, I felt Theron lift me in his arms, felt the bond between us settle into something solid and unbreakable. The rejected Omega was claimed by the most powerful Alpha alive. And somehow, impossibly, I'd just discovered I was something far more than broken.
Chapter 4. Awakening in Stone. Silk. That was my first conscious thought. The sheets beneath me were silk, smooth and cool against my skin in a way the rough cotton of my packhouse bed had never been. My eyes opened slowly, adjusting to soft morning light filtering through massive windows. The ceiling above me was vaulted stone, ancient and imposing. Tapestries hung on walls that looked like they'd stood for centuries. Everything was grand, beautiful, utterly foreign. This wasn't Silver Moon territory. Memory crashed back in fragments. The rejection, the Alpha King, silver light exploding from my body, those strange marks. I sat up fast, looking at my arms. The marks were still there. Intricate silver patterns that swirled from my wrists to my shoulders, fainter now in daylight but still visible, still real. I traced one with trembling fingers, feeling warmth pulse beneath my skin at the touch. "Eclipse bloodline," I whispered, remembering Elder Moira's shocked voice. What does that even mean? My wolf stirred, actually stirred, and I gasped. For 22 years, she'd been a silent, sleeping presence, barely there. But now I could feel her clearly, awake and aware in a way she'd never been before. "Finally," she seemed to say, her voice clearer than I'd ever heard it. "Finally, you see what we are." "I don't see anything," I muttered, swinging my legs out of the enormous bed. "I don't understand any of this." The room was easily 3 times the size of my old bedroom. Rich burgundy curtains framed floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked endless forest. A wardrobe carved from dark wood stood against one wall, and through an open doorway I glimpsed a bathroom with a tub large enough to swim in. Where was I? How long had I been unconscious? Where was Theron? My chest tightened at the thought of him, the bond immediately responding. I could feel him somewhere in the building, distant but present, like a compass pointing north. The pole was magnetic, insistent. "Mate," my wolf purred. "Find mate." "We don't even know him," I said aloud, then felt foolish for arguing with myself. A soft knock interrupted my internal crisis. "Come in?" I called hesitantly, suddenly aware I was wearing a nightgown I didn't remember putting on, soft white cotton that definitely wasn't mine. The door opened and an elegant woman stepped through. She was beautiful, sleek dark hair pulled into a sophisticated twist, sharp cheekbones and ice-blue eyes that assessed me with curiosity. She wore tailored pants and a silk blouse that screamed authority and wealth. "Good morning, Eclipse Luna." Her voice was smooth, cultured. She smiled warmly. "I'm Lyanna Frost, the Alpha King's chief advisor. I'm relieved to see you awake." "How long was I—" "Nearly 12 hours. She moved to the windows, pulling the curtains wider. "You drained yourself significantly with that power display. Quite spectacular, by the way. I've never seen anything like it." 12 hours. I'd lost half a day. Panic fluttered in my chest. "Where am I? Is this—" "Nightshade territory, the royal estate." Lyanna gestured to an armchair near the fireplace. "Please, sit. We should talk." I didn't want to sit. I wanted answers, but something about her calm authority made me comply, sinking into the chair while she took the one opposite. I know you must have questions, Liana said gently. The Alpha King asked me to explain things when you woke. He would have done it himself, but there were urgent matters requiring his attention. The bond pulsed, almost painful. I rubbed my chest absently. What happened to me? Those marks, the light. Elder Moira said something about eclipse bloodline. You're descended from the first wolves, the original pack blessed directly by the moon goddess herself. They could channel lunar energy, healing, shields, amplification of other wolves' powers. It was thought the bloodline died out centuries ago, but clearly, she gestured to my glowing marks, it didn't. I'm just an Omega. I couldn't even shift properly until your power was dormant, locked away, likely as a protection mechanism. Liana's voice was patient, like she was explaining something to a child. Your bound with the Alpha King triggered your awakening. His power recognized yours. It sounded like a fairy tale, like something from the old stories the pack elders told children, not something that happened to invisible Omegas who couldn't shift. What does this mean? I whispered. What am I supposed to do with lunar power? Learn to control it, for one. Liana smiled. The Alpha King has arranged for your training to begin tomorrow. You'll need to master your abilities. They're incredibly strong, but they can also be dangerous if left unchecked. Dangerous. The words settled heavy in my stomach. I don't want this, I said suddenly. The truth burst out of me like pressure releasing. I don't want to be special or powerful or... My voice cracked. I just want to go home. Liana's expression softened with what looked like genuine sympathy. Your home is here now, Freya, with your mate. He's not... I started to protest, but stopped. What could I say? That the bond wasn't real? I could feel it burning in my chest even now. That I didn't want him? My wolf was practically whining with the need to find him. This is a lot to process, Liana said quietly. I understand. But you should know, the Alpha King doesn't make claims lightly. For him to publicly declare you as his mate means you're under his protection. No one in the 5 territories would dare harm you. Protection? Because I needed it now. Because whatever I'd become last night had painted a target on my back. What if I can't control the power? The question escaped before I could stop it. That's what training is for. Liana stood, smoothing her pants. But first, you need to eat and regain your strength. The Alpha King requested you join him for breakfast once you were ready. He's waiting, and he doesn't like to wait. There was something in her tone, a warning maybe, or a test. I looked toward the window, toward where I could feel Theron's presence through the bond. My mate, the Alpha King, the most powerful wolf alive, who chose me in front of everyone. I need my own room, I heard myself say. I can't. This is his space. I need somewhere that's mine. Liana's smile was understanding. Of course, I'll arrange it. But Freya, she paused at the door. Give him a chance. He's not what you might expect. Then she was gone, leaving me alone with silk sheets and silver marks and the undeniable pull toward a man I didn't know but couldn't escape. I looked out the window at the vast nightshade territory spread below. Somewhere out there Theron was waiting, and I had no idea if I was ready to face him.
Chapter 5. Breakfast Tension. I'd been awake since dawn, pretending to review territory reports while every instinct screamed at me to go to her. My mate, unconscious in my bed, small and vulnerable, and mine. The bond pulled constantly, a magnetic force that made concentration nearly impossible. I checked on her 3 times during the night just to watch her breathe, to assure my wolf she was safe and healing. Liana found me on the 4th time. She's fine, Theron, she'd said with amusement. Your hovering won't wake her faster. I'd growled and retreated to my study like a scolded pup. Now, sitting in the private dining room, I checked my watch for the 5th time in 10 minutes. Lyanna had sent word that Freya was awake over an hour ago. Where was she? The bond thrummed with her presence, nervous, uncertain, but moving closer. My wolf paced restlessly, wanting to go to her, claim her, make sure she understood she was protected. I forced myself to remain seated. She'd been through enough. Public rejection, power awakening, fainting in front of hundreds, waking up in a strange territory with a mate she didn't choose. The door opened. Every thought in my head evaporated. Chapter 3. The Impossible Claim. Chapter 5. Breakfast Tension. I'd been awake since dawn, pretending to review territory reports while every instinct screamed at me to go to her. My mate, unconscious in my bed, small and vulnerable, and mine. The bond pulled constantly, a magnetic force that made concentration nearly impossible. I checked on her 3 times during the night just to watch her breathe, to assure my wolf she was safe and healing. Lyanna found me on the 4th time. "She's fine, Theron," she'd said with amusement. "Your hovering won't wake her faster." I'd growled and retreated to my study like a scolded pup. Now, sitting in the private dining room, I checked my watch for the 5th time in 10 minutes. Lyanna had sent word that Freya was awake over an hour ago. Where was she? The bond thrummed with her presence, nervous, uncertain, but moving closer. My wolf paced restlessly, wanting to go to her, claim her, make sure she understood she was protected. I forced myself to remain seated. She'd been through enough. Public rejection, power awakening, fainting in front of hundreds, waking up in a strange territory with a mate she didn't choose. The door opened. Every thought in my head evaporated.
He stood as I entered, and the sheer presence of him stole my breath. In the moonlight last night, Theron had seemed otherworldly. In the soft morning light flooding the dining room, he was devastating. Black shirt rolled to his forearms, revealing corded muscle. Dark hair slightly disheveled, like he'd run his hands through it repeatedly. Those golden eyes locked onto me with an intensity that made my knees weak. The bond sang, recognizing him, pulling me forward. I forced myself to stop just inside the doorway. "Good morning." His voice was carefully neutral, but I heard the tension beneath it, saw it in the rigid set of his shoulders. "Morning," I managed, my own voice small. He moved to pull out a chair, smooth, graceful, every motion deliberate. "Please, sit." It wasn't quite a command, but it wasn't a request either, something in between. I crossed the room on shaky legs, hyper-aware of his eyes tracking my every movement, and sank into the offered chair. The table was laden with more food than I'd seen in months: fresh fruit, pastries, eggs, bacon, bread still steaming from the oven. My stomach growled despite my nervousness. Theron took the seat across from me, close enough to reach and far enough to not crowd. I felt him watching as I tentatively reached for a strawberry. "How do you feel?" he asked. "Fine." The lie was automatic. His eyes narrowed slightly. "Try again." Heat crept up my neck. "Confused, overwhelmed, like I'm living someone else's life." That's more honest. Something that might have been approval flickered across his face. The power drain was significant. "You should eat." I bit into the strawberry just to have something to do with my hands. Sweet juice burst on my tongue, and I realized I was starving. When was the last time I'd eaten? Before the ritual. Over a day ago. I reached for bread, then cheese, then more fruit. Theron pushed dishes closer without comment, just watching with those intense golden eyes. The silence stretched between us, not quite comfortable but not hostile either. I could feel questions building in my throat, pressing for release. "Why did you claim me?" The words burst out before I could stop them. Theron's hand froze halfway to his coffee cup. "Because you're my mate." "But you didn't know me. You could have—" I gestured helplessly. "You're the Alpha King. You could have anyone. Why would the moon bond you to a broken Omega?" "You're not broken." His voice sharpened. "Don't call yourself that." "I couldn't shift for 22 years." "Because your power was dormant, waiting." He leaned forward, intensity radiating from him. "The moon knew what she was doing, Freya. She always does." I wanted to believe him, wanted to believe I was chosen for a reason, not just because fate had a cruel sense of humor. But Marcus's words still echoed in my head. Too defective to carry strong heirs. "Training starts tomorrow," Theron said, clearly reading my doubt. "You'll learn to control your abilities, the lunar power, the healing, eventually the shift." "And if I can't? What if I hurt someone?" "You won't." "You don't know that." "I do." His certainty was absolute. "Because I'll be training you myself, and I don't fail." The weight of that statement settled between us. This wasn't just any alpha offering to teach me. This was the most powerful alpha alive, ruler of 5 territories, promising to personally oversee my training. "Why? Why would you spend your time on my mate?" His eyes flashed gold, his wolf close to the surface. "Why wouldn't I?" "Because I'm nobody. Because I'm not worth it. Because—" "I didn't ask for this." The words came out sharper than intended, frustration bubbling up, mixing with fear and confusion and the constant pull of the bond. The air in the room grew heavy. Theron's alpha presence expanded, making it hard to breathe, but I couldn't back down, couldn't just accept this without understanding. "Do you think I asked for it either?" His voice was low, dangerous. The temperature seemed to drop. "I didn't ask to find another mate." The words hit like a physical blow. Another mate, the ghost I'd been trying not to think about. "You had someone before," I said quietly. It wasn't a question. Theron's jaw clenched, a muscle jumping. For a long moment he said nothing. Then, "Yes." One word, but it contained volumes of pain, loss, grief. The bond between us pulsed with his emotion, and I felt the echo of it, a wound that hadn't fully healed. "What happened to her?" "She died. Flat. Final. 5 years ago." The silence that followed was suffocating. I shouldn't push, should leave it alone, but the question burned in my throat. "Do you wish the bond had chosen her instead of me?" His eyes snapped to mine, blazing gold. For a heartbeat I saw fury there, then something else, something raw. "Don't—" He stood as I entered, and the sheer presence of him stole my breath. In the moonlight last night, Theron had seemed otherworldly. In the soft morning light flooding the dining room, he was devastating. Black shirt rolled to his forearms, revealing corded muscle. Dark hair slightly disheveled, like he'd run his hands through it repeatedly. Those golden eyes locked onto me with an intensity that made my knees weak. The bond sang, recognizing him, pulling me forward. I forced myself to stop just inside the doorway. "Good morning." His voice was carefully neutral, but I heard the tension beneath it, saw it in the rigid set of his shoulders. "Morning," I managed, my own voice small. He moved to pull out a chair, smooth, graceful, every motion deliberate. "Please, sit." It wasn't quite a command, but it wasn't a request either, something in between. I crossed the room on shaky legs, hyper-aware of his eyes tracking my every movement, and sank into the offered chair. The table was laden with more food than I'd seen in months: fresh fruit, pastries, eggs, bacon, bread still steaming from the oven. My stomach growled despite my nervousness. Theron took the seat across from me, close enough to reach and far enough to not crowd. I felt him watching as I tentatively reached for a strawberry. "How do you feel?" he asked. "Fine." The lie was automatic. His eyes narrowed slightly. "Try again." Heat crept up my neck. "Confused, overwhelmed, like I'm living someone else's life." "That's more honest." Something that might have been approval flickered across his face. "The power drain was significant. You should eat." I bit into the strawberry just to have something to do with my hands. Sweet juice burst on my tongue, and I realized I was starving. When was the last time I'd eaten? Before the ritual. Over a day ago. I reached for bread, then cheese, then more fruit. Theron pushed dishes closer without comment, just watching with those intense golden eyes. The silence stretched between us, not quite comfortable but not hostile either. I could feel questions building in my throat, pressing for release. "Why did you claim me?" The words burst out before I could stop them. Theron's hand froze halfway to his coffee cup. "Because you're my mate." "But you didn't know me. You could have—" I gestured helplessly. "You're the Alpha King. You could have anyone. Why would the moon bond you to a broken Omega?" "You're not broken." His voice sharpened. "Don't call yourself that." "I couldn't shift for 22 years. "Because your power was dormant, waiting." He leaned forward, intensity radiating from him. "The moon knew what she was doing, Freya. She always does." I wanted to believe him, wanted to believe I was chosen for a reason, not just because fate had a cruel sense of humor. But Marcus's words still echoed in my head. "Too defective to carry strong heirs." "Training starts tomorrow," Theron said, clearly reading my doubt. "You'll learn to control your abilities, the lunar power, the healing, eventually the shift." "And if I can't? What if I hurt someone?" "You won't." "You don't know that." "I do." His certainty was absolute. "Because I'll be training you myself, and I don't fail." The weight of that statement settled between us. This wasn't just any alpha offering to teach me. This was the most powerful alpha alive, ruler of 5 territories, promising to personally oversee my training. "Why? Why would you spend your time on my mate?" His eyes flashed gold, his wolf close to the surface. "Why wouldn't I?" "Because I'm nobody. Because I'm not worth it. Because—" "I didn't ask for this." The words came out sharper than intended, frustration bubbling up, mixing with fear and confusion and the constant pull of the bond. The air in the room grew heavy. Theron's alpha presence expanded, making it hard to breathe, but I couldn't back down, couldn't just accept this without understanding. "Do you think I asked for it either?" His voice was low. Chapter 6. The Wolf Awakens. Dawn broke cold and gray over Nightshade territory. I'd barely slept in my new quarters, smaller than Theron's room but still luxurious beyond anything I'd known. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt the bond pulling, felt his presence somewhere in the estate, felt the ache of our argument lingering between us. He lost someone. Give him time. Liana's words had echoed through the night. But how much time? How long until I stopped feeling like a replacement? A knock jolted me from my thoughts. "Eclipse Luna?" A young Omega stood in the doorway, bowing. "The Alpha King requests your presence at the training grounds. Dawn session." My stomach twisted. So it was starting. No more hiding. 20 minutes later, I stood at the edge of a massive clearing ringed by ancient trees. Warriors were already training, sparring in pairs, running drills, the clash of practice weapons echoing through the morning air. And there, in the center of it all, was Theron. shirtless. My breath caught. I'd known he was powerful, but seeing him in daylight, muscles moving under golden skin as he demonstrated a combat move to a young warrior, it was almost too much. Scars marked his torso, pale lines that told stories of battles survived. He moved like violence and grace combined, utterly in control. The bond heated in my chest, and I hated how my body responded to just the sight of him. He looked up, golden eyes finding mine across the clearing. The warrior he'd been instructing wisely retreated. "You came?" Theron asked as I approached. Did I have a choice? Something flickered in his expression. Regret, maybe, but it was gone too quickly to identify. "There's always a choice, Freya, but this," he gestured to the training ground, "this will keep you alive. Your power makes you a target." The bluntness stole my response. Right, this wasn't about us. It was about survival. "Where do we start?" I asked, trying to sound braver than I felt. "Close your eyes." I blinked. "What?" "Close your eyes." His voice dropped into that alpha command that made obedience instinctive. I closed them, hyper-aware of his presence, of warriors watching from the edges of the clearing. "Feel the moon," Theron said, his voice closer now. "Even in daylight, she's there, always watching, always present." "I don't—" "Stop thinking, feel." I tried to quiet my racing thoughts, to focus on something beyond the nervous flutter in my stomach. For a first, there was nothing, just darkness behind my eyelids and the sound of my own breathing. Then, warmth, distant but present, like sunlight through clouds. "I feel something," I whispered. "Good." His hand touched the back of my neck, and electricity shot through me. The bond flared hot and bright, but beneath it I felt something else, power flowing from him into me, showing me the way. "Let your wolf rise, Freya. She's been waiting long enough." My wolf stirred immediately at his touch, at his command, not the sluggish, half-asleep presence I'd known all my life. This was sharp, alert, eager. "Finally," she growled in my mind. "Finally, you hear me, pup." "You were always there," I gasped, eyes still closed. "All this time?" "Waiting for you to be strong enough, waiting for our mate to wake us." Our mate. The certainty in her voice made my chest tight. "Now," Theron murmured, his hand still warm on my neck, "let her out." The transformation hit like lightning. Pain exploded through every nerve, bones cracking and reshaping, breaking and reforming. I screamed, falling to my knees as my body tore itself apart and rebuilt. It felt like dying and being born at the same time, agony and ecstasy so intertwined I couldn't tell them apart. Fur erupted across my skin, silver white, gleaming in the pale morning light. My hands became paws, my spine elongated, my face stretched into a muzzle, and then silence. I stood on 4 legs, panting, my vision sharper than it had ever been. Colors were muted, but movement was crystal clear. Scents flooded my nose, pine, earth, the distinct musk of wolves, and beneath it all, him. Dark spice and power, and mine. Gasps rippled through the watching warriors. "Moon's mercy, she's huge." I looked down at myself, at paws easily twice the size of a normal Omega's. My coat shimmered silver white, catching the light like moonbeams. I felt powerful, strong, right. Movement caught my attention. Theron shifted, and I forgot to breathe. His wolf was massive, easily the largest I'd ever seen, black as midnight with those same golden eyes, radiating dominance that made every other wolf in the clearing bow their heads instinctively. He was magnificent, terrifying, beautiful. He approached slowly, deliberately, giving me space to adjust. My wolf's instincts warred within me, Part of me wanted to submit, to bare my throat, to acknowledge him as alpha. Part of me wanted to run, overwhelmed by his power and presence. But the strongest instinct, the one that made my wolf whine low in her throat, was to trust him. We circled each other, and I felt the bond between us amplify in wolf form. His emotions bled through, pride, possessiveness, something that felt almost like awe. Mine must have been obvious too. Fear, wonder, and beneath it all, that undeniable pull. He moved closer, his muzzle near my neck. I held still, trembling, as he scented me. His wolf rumbled, a sound of satisfaction, of claiming, of mine. Then he pulled back and ran. Pure instinct took over. I bolted after him, legs eating up ground faster than I'd ever moved. The forest blurred past, wind whipping through my fur, and for the first time in my life, I felt free. We ran for miles, through trees, across streams, over rocks. He was faster, stronger, but he stayed close enough that I never lost sight of him, testing me, pushing me, teaching me without words what my wolf could do. Finally, we stopped at a cliff overlooking the territory. I was panting, exhilarated, more alive than I'd ever felt. Theron shifted back to human form, and I quickly averted my eyes from his nakedness. A low chuckle told me he'd noticed. "You can shift back now," he said, amusement in his voice. "Focus on your human form. Will it back." I tried, felt the pull of transformation, but fear locked my muscles. What if I couldn't? What if I was stuck? "Trust," my wolf urged. "Trust, mate." I focused on my human body, on skin instead of fur, on hands instead of paws. The shift was slower this time, less violent, but still painful. Bones cracked and reformed, and then I was kneeling on two legs, gasping for breath, and completely naked. Heat flooded my face. I grabbed for nearby clothes, someone must have left them, and quickly dressed, not looking at Theron. "You did well," he said quietly. "Better than I expected for a first shift." "She was always there," I whispered, still processing. "My wolf, she was just sleeping." Waiting for the right moment to wake. He stepped closer, and I finally looked up at him. His expression was softer than I'd seen it. "You're stronger than you think, Freya. You always have been." The compliment made my chest warm, made me want to believe him. A howl shattered the moment, urgent, desperate, full of warning. Theron's entire body went rigid. His eyes flashed gold as he processed the meaning in that sound. "What is it?" I asked, fear crawling up my spine. He was already moving, shifting mid-stride into his massive black wolf. Another howl answered the first, closer now, from the southern border. I didn't think, just shifted and ran after him. We burst from the tree line into chaos.
Chapter 7. First Blood. The southern border was carnage. Blood stained the grass, dark and wet in the morning light. 6 warriors lay wounded, some groaning in pain, others ominously silent. The metallic scent of it hit my wolf senses like a physical blow, making my stomach churn. I shifted back to human form, grabbing clothes from a supply cache near the border station. Theron was already barking orders, his alpha command cutting through the chaos. "Secure the perimeter. I want scouts tracking their path, now." Warriors scattered to obey, moving with military precision despite the carnage around them. I stood frozen, taking in the devastation. Deep claw marks scored the trees. Bodies, rogue wolves, their eyes still open in death, littered the ground alongside the wounded. This wasn't a skirmish. This was a massacre. "Luna!" A medic waved frantically from where 3 warriors lay in critical condition. "We need help. This one won't—" Her voice cracked. "He won't survive." I moved before thinking, dropping to my knees beside a young warrior who couldn't have been more than 20. His torso was ripped open, ribs visible through torn flesh. Blood pooled beneath him, too much blood. His breathing came in wet, rattling gasps. "We need to move him to the medical wing," the medic said desperately, "but he won't survive the journey." "Then I'll heal him here." The words came out steady, certain, though I had no idea if I could actually do it. "Freya," Theron's voice, warning. I looked up at him, saw the concern in his bolden eyes. "I have to try." He hesitated, then nodded once. "Try, but don't drain yourself." I turned back to the dying warrior. His eyes found mine, young, scared, fading. "It's okay," I whispered, placing my hands over the worst of his wounds. "I've got you." I closed my eyes and reached for that warmth I'd felt during training, the connection to the moon, to the power sleeping in my blood. At first, nothing happened, just my hands on torn flesh, blood seeping between my fingers. "Please," I begged silently, "please let this work." Heat exploded through my palms. Silver light erupted from my hands, so bright I could see it through my closed eyelids. The warrior gasped, back arcing, and I felt the power flowing out of me like water from a broken dam. Into him, through him, knitting torn tissue, mending shattered bones, pulling him back from the edge of death. The light intensified until it finally faded. When it finally faded, I opened my eyes. The wound was closed, not healed perfectly, pink scars marked where the injury had been, but closed. The warrior's breathing came easier now, steady and strong. Color returned to his face. "Moon's mercy," the medic breathed. "You actually—" The world tilted sideways. I tried to stand, but my legs wouldn't support me. Exhaustion crashed over me like a wave, dragging me under. My vision blurred at the edges, darkness creeping in. Strong arms caught me before I hit the ground. "I told you not to drain yourself," Theron growled, but his touch was gentle as he lifted me against his chest. "He would have died." My voice came out slurred, distant. Something warm and wet dripped from my nose. I touched it, saw silver blood on my fingers. "Worth it." "Stubborn," he muttered, but there was something else in his voice, something that sounded almost like pride. I felt him carrying me away from the chaos, heard him snarling orders to his warriors. The bond between us pulsed with his emotions, anger at the rogues, fear for me, fierce protectiveness that made my wolf purr despite the exhaustion. "The others," I mumbled against his chest, "the other wounded." "The medic will handle them. You've done enough." "But, Freya," he looked down at me, and the intensity in his golden eyes stole my breath. "You saved his life. You gave everything you had. That's more than enough." My eyelids felt like lead weights. Didn't want him to die. Too young. Too much ahead of him. "Sleep," Theron commanded softly. "I've got you." Darkness pulled at me, but I fought it. There was something important I needed to say, something hovering at the edge of consciousness. "Vision," I whispered, "saw something when I was healing him." Theron's steps faltered. "What did you see?" Images flashed behind my eyes, brutal and vivid. A face half consumed by fire, twisted with rage. Scars that covered burned flesh in patterns of agony. Eyes that held nothing but hatred and hunger for revenge. "Burned," I gasped. "Face burned, leading them, the rogues." He said— The vision felt so real, like he was speaking directly to me. He said, "I'll have you." "Describe him." Theron's voice was deadly calm, the kind of calm that came before a storm. "Scars, everywhere, like fire consumed half his face, and he knew me, knew what I was, called me—" The words came from the vision, not from my memory. "Called me Eclipse Luna. He's coming for me." Theron's arms tightened around me. "Over my dead body."
I wanted to ask more, wanted to understand who the burned man was and why he wanted me, but unconsciousness finally won, dragging me under despite my resistance. My last coherent thought was surprise at where I was going, not to my quarters, to his.
Chapter 8, Ghost of the Past. I woke to the scent of him everywhere. Dark spice and pine and something uniquely Theron. It saturated the sheets, the pillows, the very air I breathed. The bond hummed contentedly in my chest, my wolf practically purring with satisfaction at being surrounded by our mate's scent. My eyes opened slowly. His room. I was in his bed again. Memory flooded back, the attack, the healing, the vision of that burned face promising to take me. I sat up carefully, testing my body for damage. Exhausted, but whole. The silver marks on my arms glowed faintly, pulsing in time with my heartbeat. How long had I been unconscious this time? Movement caught my eye. A figure in the chair beside the bed. Theron sat slouched in what looked like an uncomfortable position, his head tilted back against the chair, eyes closed. Dark shadows marked the skin beneath his eyes. His shirt was wrinkled, splattered with blood, mine or the warrior's, I couldn't tell. He looked exhausted, beautiful, like he'd been keeping vigil. Had he been watching me sleep again? The thought should have been creepy. Instead, it made something warm bloom in my chest. As if sensing my gaze, his eyes opened, golden and alert despite his obvious fatigue. "You're awake." His voice was rough, like he hadn't used it in hours. "How do you feel?" "Tired, but okay." I touched my nose, no more blood. "How long?" 6 hours. He sat forward, elbows on his knees. "Longer than last time, but you drained yourself more thoroughly." "The warrior, he will make a full recovery. They're calling you a miracle worker." Something flickered in his expression. "You saved his life, Freya, gave him a future he wouldn't have had." The pride in his voice made my chest tight. I'd never had anyone look at me like that, like I'd done something extraordinary instead of something wrong. "Why am I in your room again?" The question came out softer than I intended. "I have my own quarters now." He was quiet for a long moment. "Couldn't leave you far." 3 words, simple, but the honesty in them made the bond pulse hot and bright. "The bond is stronger here," he continued, looking away. "Helps with healing, that's all." Liar. The bond told me what he wouldn't say, that he'd needed me close, needed to watch me breathe, needed to be certain I was safe. I should have been angry, should have demanded my own space again, but I was too tired for pride, and the truth was, I understood. The bond pulled at me too, making distance physically painful. My eyes drifted around the room, truly seeing it for the first time beyond the bed. Dark furniture, weapons mounted on walls, books stacked on a desk, and there, above the fireplace, my breath caught. The portrait was massive, impossible to miss. A woman with flowing red hair and emerald eyes, laughing at something beyond the frame. She was beautiful, ethereally so, the kind of beauty that made you feel small just looking at it. She wore a silver dress, and around her neck, a mating mark. His mark. "Who is she?" The words escaped before I could stop them, though I already knew, my heart already understood. Theron followed my gaze, and his entire body went rigid. Pain flashed across his face, raw and unguarded for just a moment before he locked it down. "My mate." The words came out rough. "Seraphina." The name hung in the air between us, like a ghost. I couldn't look away from the portrait. She was radiant, clearly loved, clearly chosen. Everything I wasn't, everything I could never be.
"What happened to her?" I asked quietly. For a long moment I thought he wouldn't answer. Then he stood, moving to the window, putting distance between us. When he spoke, his voice was carefully controlled. Rogue attack, 5 years ago. Each word seemed to cost him. They hit our border during a lunar ceremony. I was in the capital, dealing with alpha disputes, thought she'd be safe with my warriors. Theron, she was pregnant. 6 months. We were going to name him Alexander if it was a boy, Luna if it was a girl. The pain in his voice made my chest ache, made tears burn behind my eyes for a woman I'd never met, for a child who never got to exist. The rogues broke through our defenses, targeted her specifically because she was my mate, because hurting her would hurt me. His voice dropped to barely above a whisper. She fought. Moon, she fought so hard, but by the time I got back, he didn't finish, didn't need to. "I'm so sorry," I whispered. I swore I'd never fail to protect someone I loved again, swore I'd never take another mate, never risk that kind of loss, never be that powerless again. His words from breakfast echoed in my mind. I didn't ask to find another mate either. "Then the bond chose me," I said softly. It wasn't a question. Finally, he turned to face me. The expression in his golden eyes was complicated. Grief, guilt, something that might have been fear. "Then you appeared, and every instinct I have screams at me to protect you, claim you, keep you safe. But Freya," his voice cracked slightly, "I don't know if I can survive losing another mate, don't know if I'm strong enough." The honesty of it broke something inside me. This powerful alpha, ruler of 5 territories, admitting fear, admitting weakness. But I heard what he didn't say, saw it in his eyes, felt it through the bond. He was already falling, already starting to love me, and it terrified him. Am I a replacement? The question I'd been afraid to ask finally escaped. Did the bond choose me because you needed someone, anyone, to fill the void she left? The silence stretched between us, heavy and suffocating. "I don't know," he admitted finally, and those 3 words shattered something in my chest. I don't know. Not no, not you're different, not you're special in your own way, just uncertainty. The bond screamed in protest, pain lancing through both of us. I saw him flinch, knew he felt it too. "I need to go," I said, voice breaking despite my attempt to stay strong. I threw back the covers, stood on shaky legs. "I need my own room, my own space. I can't—" "Freya, wait." "No." Tears burned in my eyes now, threatening to fall. "You don't know if I'm real or just a replacement for her. You don't know if you want me or if you just can't handle being alone. I won't—" my voice cracked. "I won't be second choice. Not again. I've been that my whole life." "That's not what I meant." "Then what did you mean?" I spun to face him, and the tears finally spilled over. "Tell me, Theron, tell me you want me, not just the bond, not just because the moon chose us. Me." He opened his mouth, closed it. The words wouldn't come. That was answer enough. I fled. Past guards who wisely got out of my way, down corridors I'd memorized, to my own quarters where I slammed the door and sank to the floor, finally letting the sobs come. The bond ached like an open wound. I felt his pain mixing with mine through it, felt him standing on the other side of his door, wanting to follow but not knowing what to say. A soft knock made me look up. Not Theron. Lyanna. "Oh, sweetie," she said gently, sinking down beside me on the floor. She didn't ask what happened, just wrapped an arm around my shoulders and let me cry. "He loved her so much," I gasped between sobs. "How can I compete with that? With a perfect memory? With a ghost?" "Serafina was my sister," Lyanna said quietly. I froze, pulled back to look at her. "What?" "My younger sister." Lyanna's elegant face was sad. She and Theron were true mates, deeply in love. When she died, she paused. It broke something in him. He blamed himself, still does. "I didn't know. I'm so sorry." "Don't be," she squeezed my shoulder. "Listen to me, Freya. Theron is stubborn and emotionally constipated and terrible at expressing what he feels. But I've watched him these past few days. The way he looks at you, the way he can't stand to have you out of his sight, that's not the bond, that's him. He said he doesn't know if I'm a replacement. Because he's scared," she said firmly. "Scared of losing you like he lost her, scared of loving again. But that doesn't mean what you two have isn't."
Chapter 9. Training Montage. 1 week passed in careful distance. We trained every dawn. Theron was professional, focused, keeping physical contact to the minimum necessary for instruction. No lingering touches, no heated glances, just the Alpha King teaching his Luna how to survive. It was torture. The bond pulled constantly, aching with our mutual avoidance of what lay between us, but neither of us knew how to bridge the gap, so we simply endured. "Again," Theron commanded from across the training ring. I raised my hands, silver light already gathering in my palms. Creating a lunar shield had become almost instinctive over the past week, a dome of shimmering energy that could deflect attacks. I'd managed to hold one for 30 seconds yesterday. Today, I was determined to reach a minute. The light formed, solidifying into a translucent barrier around me. I felt the drain immediately, power flowing out, sustaining the shield. My arms trembled with effort. 30 seconds, Theron called. "Steady your breathing. The shield feeds on your energy. Panic makes it collapse faster." I focused on my breath, trying to calm the racing of my heart. The shield flickered but held. 45 seconds. Warriors had gathered at the edges of the training ground, watching their Luna practice. Word of my healing had spread, and now they looked at me with a mixture of awe and curiosity. The broken Omega had become something else entirely. 55. My visions started to blur at the edges. Just 5 more seconds. I could do this. 60. Theron's voice held approval. "Down, now." I released the shield and it shattered into sparkles of silver light. My knees buckled, but I caught myself this time. Progress. A week ago, I would have collapsed completely. Theron approached, and despite everything between us, I felt my pulse quicken. He was shirtless again, apparently his preferred training attire, muscles gleaming with sweat. His golden eyes assessed me clinically. "Good. You're learning control." He circled me, and I fought the urge to turn and track his movement. "But you're still thinking too much. Combat won't give you time to concentrate." "Easy for you to say," I muttered, wiping sweat from my face. "You've been doing this your whole life." "Which is why I'm teaching you." He stopped directly in front of me, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating from his skin. "You're Omega, but you carry Alpha power. You need to fight like one." "I know. You've said that before. And I'll keep saying it until you believe it." His voice softened slightly. "You're stronger than you think, Freya. You always have been." The compliment made warmth bloom in my chest, despite my attempts to stay detached. Our eyes met, and for just a moment, the careful distance between us wavered. Then he stepped back, breaking the moment. "Let's work on combat application. Attack me." "What?" "You heard me.
He dropped into a fighting stance, graceful and deadly. Use your shield as a weapon, push out instead of just defending. I'd never attacked anyone in my life. The idea of attacking him, the most powerful alpha alive, seemed insane, but his expression brooked no argument. I took a breath, centered myself, and lunged. He moved like water, flowing around my clumsy strike. Before I could recover, he'd swept my legs, and I was on my back staring up at the sky. "Predictable," he said, offering a hand. "Again." I took his hand and electricity shot through me at the contact. His grip tightened fractionally. He felt it too. But he pulled me up and immediately released me, stepping back into position. We sparred for an hour. He took me down again and again, each time pointing out what I'd done wrong. But slowly I started to improve, started to read his movements, anticipate his strikes. "Better," he said, after I managed to duck under his arm and create space. "You're fast, use it." I tried again, this time adding a burst of lunar light to disorient him. It actually worked. He blinked against the brightness, and I managed to land a hit to his ribs. Not hard, not nearly hard enough to hurt him, but contact. The watching warriors actually applauded. Theron's lips quirked in what might have been a smile. Learning. Then he moved, a blur of speed and power that had me pinned against his chest before I could react. One arm around my waist, his other hand catching my wrist before I could summon more light. We froze. His heart pounded against my back. My own raced to match it. The bond sang between us, delighted at the proximity, at the skin-to-skin contact we'd been avoiding all week. "Never," he breathed against my ear, voice rough. "Never drop your guard when you think you've won. Your enemy won't hesitate to use that moment." I should have pulled away, should have demanded he release me. Instead, I turned my head slightly, meeting his eyes. "Is that what you are, my enemy?" Something flickered in his golden gaze. Heat, hunger, regret. "No," he said quietly, "but I don't know what I am to you either." The honesty in those words made my chest tight. We stayed frozen like that, neither willing to break the moment, the bond pulling us closer while fear kept us apart. A deliberate cough broke the spell. Liana stood at the edge of the training ground, looking apologetic. "Alpha King, War Council in 10 minutes. Theron's alpha command cut through the chaos. "Stand down." I ran toward the sound, Kai close behind. The scene that greeted me made my blood run cold. A messenger stood surrounded by warriors, covered in blood and dirt, barely standing, but it was what he held that made my heart stop. A torn piece of fabric, silver moon pack colors, and written in blood across it, "We have your old pack. Come to us, Eclipse Luna, or they burn." Theron stood rigid, fury radiating from every line of his body. But when his eyes found mine across the crowd, I saw something else there too. Fear, because we both knew I couldn't let innocence die, couldn't let my old pack, Marcus, Alpha Thomas, everyone, burn because of me. The rogues had just declared war, and they'd made it personal. Chapter 10. Politics and Jealousy. The War Council chamber was a cauldron of tension. 5 alphas sat around a massive oak table, leaders of the territories under Theron's rule. I recognized Alpha Thomas from Silver Moon Pack, looking older and more worn than the last time I'd seen him at the ritual. The others were strangers, powerful males radiating dominance, and every single one of them turned to stare when I entered. "The Eclipse Luna," someone murmured. Theron stood at the head of the table, a map spread before him, marked with red points, attack sites. His eyes found mine, and something possessive flashed in them before he schooled his expression. "Freya, not Luna, my name. Stand beside me." Not a request. I moved to his side, hyper-aware of every gaze tracking my movement. The silver marks on my arms seemed to glow brighter under their scrutiny. "Gentlemen," Theron's voice cut through the murmurs. "As you can see, we have a situation." He gestured to the map. Red marks clustered around border territories. 12 attacks in the past 2 weeks. Always at night, always brutal. "They're testing our defenses," said a scarred alpha with gray at his temples, "probing for weaknesses." Not just testing. Theron's finger landed on Silver Moon Pack's territory. This was a message. They want her. His hand moved possessively to the small of my back, and I felt the bond flare hot. And they're willing to massacre innocents to get her. "Then, perhaps," Alpha Thomas said carefully, not meeting my eyes, "we should consider—" "No." The alpha command in Theron's voice made everyone in the room flinch. "We don't negotiate with rogues, we don't sacrifice pack members, and we certainly don't hand over my mate." The possessiveness in his tone sent shivers down my spine. "With respect, Alpha King," another alpha spoke, younger, with dark hair and calculating eyes, "the Eclipse Luna is valuable, but is she worth a war?" Before Theron could respond, the door opened. A man entered who made every alpha in the room straighten slightly. He was handsome, devastatingly so, with golden hair and emerald eyes, charming smile, confident stride. Power radiated from him, though not as intensely as Theron's. "Apologies for my lateness," he said smoothly. "Alpha Darius Silvercrest of Western Territory." His eyes landed on me, and something shifted in his expression. Interest, appreciation. He crossed directly to me, ignoring protocol, and took my hand before I could react. "So this is the Eclipse Luna." His lips brushed my knuckles, lingering longer than necessary. "The rumors don't do you justice. You're absolutely radiant." The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Theron's growl was low and deadly, a sound that made my wolf want to bare her throat in submission, but it wasn't directed at me. "Release my mate." Each word was an alpha command that could compel obedience from any wolf. Darius's smile widened, though he did release my hand. "No offense intended, Alpha King, simply greeting the lady properly." "Proper greeting doesn't involve touching what's mine." Theron moved, positioning himself slightly between us. The possessiveness was palpable, territorial in a way that made heat coil in my belly despite my frustration. "Possessive," Darius observed, still smiling. "Interesting. I'd heard you'd claimed a mate, but I didn't realize the bond had taken so thoroughly." "Did you come here to discuss politics or test boundaries?" Theron's voice was glacial. "Politics, of course, though I must say, Eclipse Luna, if you ever tire of—" The crack of wood splitting cut him off. Theron's hand had clenched around the edge of the table, hard enough to splinter the oak. Liana's smooth voice interrupted from the doorway. "Urgent news. Silver Moon Pack, the rogues have begun their attack." Every other thought evaporated. "When?" Theron was already moving toward the door. 20 minutes ago. They're holding, but barely. Alpha Thomas is requesting immediate assistance." My old pack. The wolves who'd watched me get rejected. The ones who whispered about me, pitied me, ignored me my whole life. They were dying because of me. "We mobilize now. Full strike force. Liana, send word." "I'm coming with you." My voice was steady despite the fear coursing through me. "Absolutely not." "They want me, Theron. This whole attack is because of me. I can help. I can heal. I can fight. You've been training me for exactly this." "You're not ready. Then I'll learn by doing." I stepped closer, letting him see my determination. "Those are my people. I won't hide here while they die protecting me." Something shifted in his expression. Pride, maybe, or resignation. "You stay by my side. Every moment. You don't leave my sight." "Fine." "And Freya," he caught my chin, forcing me to meet his eyes. The intensity there stole my breath. "If you die protecting them, I will burn everything to the ground. Understand?" It should have sounded like a threat. Instead, it sounded like a promise. Like he cared. Like maybe, just maybe, I was more to him than a convenient replacement. Understand, I whispered. He released me, turning to Liana. Ready the warriors, we leave in 5 minutes. As we moved to prepare, I caught Liana watching us with an unreadable expression. For just a moment, something cold flickered in her eyes. Then she smiled, and it was gone. I'll ensure everything is ready, Alpha King, she said smoothly. But as I left to gather my weapons, I couldn't shake the feeling that something about her smile had been wrong. 5 minutes later, we stood at the territory border, 50 warriors in wolf form, ready for war. The moon hung fat and bright above us, and I felt its power singing in my blood. Theron shifted beside me, massive, deadly, magnificent. His golden eyes met mine one last time. Stay close, his wolf seemed to say. Stay safe. Then we ran toward Silver Moon territory, toward the pack that rejected me, toward the rogues who wanted me dead or captured, toward a battle that would change everything.
Chapter 11. Saving the Enemy. Silver Moon territory burned. We emerged from the forest to chaos, flames consuming buildings, wolves locked in savage combat. The scent of blood and smoke choked the air. Theron's howl split the darkness, rallying his warriors. They poured into battle like a black wave. I spotted Marcus near the pack house, fighting 3 rogues. One got past his guard, jaws closing towards his throat. Silver light exploded from my hands, forming a shield around him. The rogue slammed into it and rebounded. Marcus's wolf eyes went wide. Freya, you glow. Not for you, I said coldly. For them. I gestured toward the families huddled behind the pack house, pups, elderly, vulnerable. Marcus shifted, bleeding but alive. Freya, Save it. More rogues were closing in. Where are they coming from? A voice cut through the chaos, amplified across the battlefield. Eclipse Luna, I know you're here. I can feel you. Through the smoke, a figure emerged. Half his face was melted scar tissue, one eye milky white. Cain Bloodfang. There you are, that ruined voice said, the little Luna who thinks she can save everyone. Theron moved in front of me instantly. You want her, you go through me. Just like you went through Seraphina when you left her unprotected. Cain's grotesque smile made my stomach turn. When you let her die. You did this, Theron snarled. You killed her. You exiled me for failing to protect her, made me your scapegoat. Cain's hatred was palpable, but it was your arrogance that left her vulnerable. So you spent 5 years building a rogue army, killing innocents for revenge? Not just revenge, evolution. Those mismatched eyes fixed on me. I'm going to use your power to break the wolf-moon bond, create an army answering to no one. She's going nowhere with you, Theron said. Then everyone here dies. Cain gestured, rogues holding hostages around the perimeter, pups, elders, Marcus's father, all with claws at their throats. Eclipse Luna comes peacefully, or I paint this territory red. Freya, no! Theron's voice was strained, but I was already moving forward. Wait, Marcus grabbed my arm. You can't. Let go. I met his eyes. You rejected me because I was worthless. No wolf, no value. Here's my value, Marcus. I can save you. Shame flooded his face. I was wrong, I know, but that doesn't change this. I walked toward Cain, feeling the bond screaming behind me. I'm sorry, I sent to Theron, but I can't let innocents die for me.
A masked rogue lunged. I dodged, summoned lunar light that sent him flying, training taking over. But two more grabbed me from behind, claws digging in. I struggled, already drained. No! Theron's roar was anguish. He charged, but Cain raised his hand. Hostages screamed as claws drew blood. Theron froze, caught between saving me and saving them. Silver light exploded from my body. Pure instinct. The rogues holding me flew backward, hands smoking. Light washed over the battlefield in waves. Every rogue stumbled, weakened. Every allied wolf surged stronger. I was amplifying them through their pack bonds. Impossible, Cain breathed. Theron's warriors struck, hostages freed. The battle turned, rogues falling under combined might, enhanced by my power. Cain met my eyes. This isn't over. I'll have you, and I'll make you watch while I destroy everything you love. He vanished into smoke with his retreating forces. I collapsed. Theron caught me, pulling me against his chest. Stubborn, brave and stupid and mine. They're safe, I mumbled. Worth it. You're worth more, his voice cracked. Always more. Marcus approached, covered in ash. Eclipse Luna, Freya, I don't have words. Then don't say them, I tried to smile. Just protect them better. I will, I swear it. He looked at Theron. Thank you for bringing her. She wanted to come. I just made sure she came back. Warriors gathered, wounded but victorious. Wolves who'd ignored me my whole life now stared with awe. The Eclipse Luna saved us, someone whispered. The title Marcus had refused me, now spoken with reverence. We need to heal the wounded, I said weakly. You've done enough. Theron lifted me. You're coming home. Home? Nightshade territory, where you belong. His golden eyes were fierce. Our home, my wolf purred, with mate. This time I didn't argue. As he carried me away, I looked back, Marcus watching, the pack surviving. The broken Omega had saved those who rejected her, and somehow that was exactly the closure I needed.
Chapter 12. Almost. I carried her through the estate's silent corridors, past guards who bowed but knew better than to speak. Every instinct screamed to take her to my chambers, but I forced myself toward her quarters instead. She'd asked for space, her own room. I would respect that, even if it killed me. The bond ached with every step. She was hurt, drained, vulnerable. My wolf demanded I keep her close, where I could protect her. But Freya had sacrificed herself tonight for people who'd rejected her. The least I could do was honor her boundaries. I pushed open her door with my shoulder, carried her to the bed. Moonlight streamed through the window, casting silver across her pale face. Blood, that luminous silver blood, had dried beneath her nose, at the corners of her eyes. She'd given everything. Again. How can I protect her if she keeps sacrificing herself? The question burned. I grabbed a cloth, dampened it, gently wiped the blood away. Her face was peaceful in unconsciousness, the worry lines smoothed. She looked younger, vulnerable. Mine. My hand trembled as I traced the moon mark on her forehead, permanent now, glowing softly even in sleep. I was falling for her. Not just the bond, not just my wolf recognizing its mate. Her stubborn courage, her selfless heart, the way she'd walked towards certain death to save wolves who'd treated her like garbage. Terror gripped my chest. I can't lose another mate. Seraphina's face flashed in my mind, laughing, alive, then broken and bloody. The emptiness after. The years of nothing but duty and guilt, and the certainty I'd never feel whole again. Now Freya, burning bright and fierce and willing to die for others. How long before someone took her from me, before I failed again? Theron? Her voice was barely a whisper. I looked down. Her gray eyes were open, unfocused but aware. I'm here. I sat on the edge of her bed, still holding the cloth. How do you feel? Tired. She blinked slowly. You carried me. You couldn't walk. To my room. Something shifted in her expression. Not yours. The observation hung between us. She knew I'd wanted to take her to my chambers, keep her close. Knew I'd chosen to respect her wishes instead. I asked for space, I said quietly. I'm trying to give it to you. Don't leave. The vulnerability in those 2 words destroyed me. Her hand reached out, fingers brushing mine. Please? Every reason I should go evaporated. Never. I stretched out beside her, on top of the blankets, keeping distance even as I stayed. But she shifted closer, her head finding my shoulder, one hand clutching my shirt like I might disappear. The bond sang. I was scared tonight, not of dying, of not saying things, important things. My arm came around her automatically, holding her against my side. What things? That I don't hate you for Seraphina, that I understand why you're afraid. Her voice was soft, drowsy. That even though I don't know if I'm a replacement, I think I'm falling for you anyway. My breath caught. Freya? You don't have to say it back. Yawned, exhaustion pulling her under. Just needed you to know. In case next time. There won't be a next time. The words came out fierce. I won't let him take you. You can't promise that. Her eyes were closing. No one can promise that. She was right. I couldn't promise she'd be safe. Couldn't guarantee I wouldn't fail her like I'd failed Seraphina. But I could promise one thing. Then I'll make you a different promise. I pressed my lips to her forehead, felt her relax against me. You'll show me you're not a replacement. That what I feel is real. That you're... What? She mumbled, barely conscious. What am I? Everything. The words stuck in my throat, too big, too true, too terrifying to say aloud. Important, I said instead. You're important to me, Freya, more than I thought possible. A soft smile curved her lips. Good start. Her breathing evened out, sleep claiming her completely. But she didn't let go of my shirt, didn't pull away, as if even unconscious she knew she was safe. I lay there in the darkness, holding my mate, feeling the bond pulse steady and strong between us. I'm falling for her. Not just bond, not just duty, her. The stubborn Omega who'd saved her enemies, the powerful Luna who didn't realize her own strength, the woman who looked at me and saw past the Alpha King to the male underneath, broken by loss, terrified of failing again, desperate to keep her safe. You think I'm strong, but I feel like I'll break, she'd said once. Then I'll hold you, whispered against her hair, for as long as you'll let me. She stirred slightly, murmuring something that might have been my name. The bond flared warm, content. I should leave, should let her rest without my presence complicating things, but her hand was still fisted in my shirt, her body curved against me, and I couldn't make myself move. Just a little longer, just until she woke. What if you get tired of holding me? The question echoed from our conversation days ago. I looked at her sleeping face, silver marks glowing softly, moon-blessed and powerful, and mine. I was almost kissing her then. She was right there, soft and warm and trusting in my arms, lips inches away. It would be so easy to close the distance, claim what the bond said was mine. But she deserved better than a kiss stolen while she slept, deserved to be awake, aware, choosing. So I pressed my lips to her forehead, gentle, reverent, and whispered words I'd never thought I'd say again. Not ready yet, but I can wait. For her to trust me completely, for her to know she wasn't second choice, for her to choose me back, not because of the bond,
but because she wanted to. I could wait, even if it killed me. A sound made me look up. Liana stood in the doorway, expression unreadable in the shadows. "Alpha King," she said softly. "I didn't mean to disturb. I came to check on the Luna. She's resting." My voice was cold. Something about her presence felt wrong, intrusive. "She'll be fine." Of course. Liana's gaze moved between us, taking in my position on the bed, Freya curled against me. Something shifted in her expression, there and gone too quickly to identify. "I'm glad she's safe, after tonight's heroism." The word felt barbed somehow. Before I could respond, she was gone, door closing softly behind her. I looked down at Freya, peaceful in sleep, completely unaware. The bond thrummed with contentment, with rightness, with the promise of something I thought I'd never have again. Tomorrow there would be consequences to face, Cain's threat, the escalating war, the danger that seemed to follow Freya everywhere. But tonight she was safe in my arms, and that was enough.
Chapter 13. Wolf Connection. 3 weeks had passed since Silvermoon. 3 weeks of training, of stolen glances, of tension that built like a storm waiting to break. Theron and I danced around what was growing between us, both terrified to name it, both unable to deny it. Tonight, under the waning moon, I needed to run. My silver wolf burst from the tree line into the sacred forest, powerful legs eating up distance. The transformation came easily now, painless, natural. I was faster than before, stronger, my senses sharp enough to track the smallest movements in the underbrush. "Free," my wolf sang, "finally free." I ran for miles, reveling in the power thrumming through my muscles. This was who I was meant to be, not the broken Omega, but this, strong, whole, complete. A howl split the night. I skidded to a stop, ears pricked. I knew that sound, deep, commanding, utterly male. My wolf recognized it on an instinctive level that made her whine with anticipation. Mate. He emerged from the shadows like a living nightmare, or a dream. Farron's black wolf was massive, easily twice my size, golden eyes burning in the moonlight. Every line of him screamed predator, alpha, mine. We stared at each other across the clearing. The bond in wolf form was different, stronger, more primal. I could feel his emotions bleeding through. Hunger, possessiveness, fierce protectiveness, and underneath it all, something that felt almost like reverence. He moved closer, each step deliberate, giving me space to run if I wanted. I didn't run. My wolf lowered her head slightly, not submission, but trust, an invitation. His answering rumble vibrated through the ground. He closed the distance, massive head lowering to nuzzle my neck. Electricity shot through me at the contact, the bond flaring so bright I saw silver and gold light dancing between us. Hunt? The thought came through clearly, not words, but intention, meaning. Yes. We moved as one. The forest blurred past as we ran side by side, perfectly synchronized. When he darted left to flush prey, I was already moving right to cut off escape. When I stumbled over a root, he was there, steadying me with his shoulder before I could fall. It wasn't conscious coordination, it was instinct. Two halves of a whole moving in perfect harmony. We brought down a deer together, clean, quick, merciful. Stood panting over our kill, muzzles nearly touching, the thrill of the hunt singing through our bond. His wolf made a sound, almost a purr, and licked my muzzle. The gesture was intimate, claiming, and my wolf preened under the attention. We left the kill for scavengers and ran to the river, drank side by side, our reflections rippling in the moonlit water, silver and black, light and shadow. When we'd drunk our fill, we simply looked at each other. I saw it then, through the wolf bond. everything he felt, the love he was terrified to voice, the need to protect me that bordered on obsession, the fear that loving me meant losing me, and underneath it all, the certainty that I was his as surely as the moon commanded the tides. Mine, his wolf seemed to say, always mine. Yours, my wolf agreed without hesitation, always yours. The impulse hit us both at once, to mark, to complete the mate bond properly, to bite and claim and make what we felt permanent in the way of wolves. But that was instinct. Human minds could choose timing, could wait for the right moment. Wolf minds knew only now. I pulled back, shifted to human form, naked and vulnerable in the moonlight, but unashamed. I deserved honesty. Theron shifted a moment later, golden eyes never leaving mine. Freya, his voice was rough. I can't. Not yet. I need to know something first. Know what? If you want me. I wrapped my arms around myself, suddenly cold despite the summer night. Not just the bond, not because your wolf recognizes mine. You, Theron. Do you want me? The silence stretched. In the distance, an owl hooted. Then he moved, closed the space between us in 2 strides, cupped my face in both hands. His touch was gentle despite the barely least power I could feel vibrating through him. Every damn day. Each word was torn from somewhere deep. I wake up wanting you, train with you and want you, watch you sleep and want you. It's not the bond, Freya, it's you. But Serafina. She was my first story. His thumbs brushed my cheekbones. My first love, my first loss. She'll always be part of who I am. Pain lanced through me. I'd been right. I was... But you're my second story. His intensity pinned me in place. And second doesn't mean less. It means new, different, yours. You're not replacing what I lost. You're becoming what I didn't know I needed. Tears burned in my eyes. I'm scared. So am I. The admission was barely a whisper. Terrified. Of losing you, of failing you, of loving you and watching you die. But Freya, his forehead pressed to mine. I'll love you until my last breath. That's not the bond talking. That's me. You love me? The words came out broken. Yes, no hesitation. I love you. Something inside me shattered and reformed simultaneously. All the walls I'd built, all the fear, it crumbled under the weight of those 3 words spoken with absolute certainty. I love you too, I whispered. I've been fighting it, but I do. I love you, Theron. He kissed me. Not gentle, not careful, desperate and hungry and full of weeks of denied wanting. His hands tangled in my hair, tilting my head back, and I opened for him without thought. The bond exploded between us, silver and gold light so bright I could see it through my closed eyelids. We stumbled backward until my spine hit a tree. His body pressed against me, all hard muscle and heat and mine. I gasped against his mouth, and he swallowed the sound, kissing deeper, claiming. My hands explored, shoulders, chest, the ridges of his abdomen. Every touch stoked the fire higher. His mouth moved to my neck, teeth scraping the exact spot where a mate's mark would go, and I moaned. Say it again, he growled against my skin. I love you. His hands slid down my sides, gripped my hips, lifted me. I wrapped my legs around his waist instinctively, feeling him hard and ready against me. We were seconds from completing the bond in the most primal way. Then alarm bells shattered the moment. We froze, panting. The sound came from the direction of the estate, urgent, desperate, the signal for immediate attack. No, I breathed. Not now. Theron's eyes had gone pure gold, his wolf furious at the interruption. But duty won over desire. It always did. He set me down carefully, both of us shifting in fluid motions. We ran toward the estate as the alarm continued to blare. Later, his wolf promised, through the bond. Soon, my wolf agreed. But as we burst from the tree line to chaos, warriors mobilizing, borders breached, I had a terrible feeling that soon might be too late.
Chapter 14. Betrayal. The main hall was chaos. Warriors rushed through corridors, grabbing weapons, shouting orders. The alarm continued its relentless wail. Theron and I had barely dressed before racing inside, but the scene that greeted us was worse than any border skirmish. "Report!" Theron's alpha command cut through the noise. Commander Marcus, not my Marcus, a grizzled veteran, stepped forward, face grim. "All borders, Alpha King. Simultaneous attacks on every side. North, south, east, west. They knew exactly where to hit." "Casualties?" 17 wounded, 3 dead. But that's not... He hesitated. "They're inside the inner territory, past defenses that should have held." "Impossible! Unless..." "How?" Theron's voice was deadly calm. "How did rogues breach inner defenses?" No one answered, but I saw it in their faces, the same question I was thinking. Someone let them in. My mind raced through the past weeks. Every strategy meeting, every defense reorganization, every time Theron had explained patrol routes and weak points, and I'd shared it all with... "Liana," I breathed. Every head turned toward me. "What?" Theron's golden eyes pinned me in place. "Every time you reorganized defenses, I told Liana. She asked about training, about territory layout, said it was to help me understand my role as Luna." The pieces clicked together with horrible clarity. But the rogues always knew, always attacked exactly where we were weakest, exactly when patrols rotated. "That's impossible," the commander said. "Liana Frost has served the Alpha King for 5 years," I interrupted, "since Serafina died." Theron's face went white. "Serafina's sister." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. "You blamed her," I continued, memory sharpening. "Every conversation, she severely reinforced it. That you failed to protect Serafina, that you were dangerous to love. She was driving a wedge between us while feeding information to..." "Cain." Theron's voice was hollow. "She's been working with Cain." A slow clap echoed through the hall. Liana stepped from the shadows, no longer the elegant advisor. Her face was cold, calculating, utterly without remorse. "Smart girl. Too bad you figured it out too late." "Liana." Theron's power flooded the room, making warriors stagger. "What have you done?" "What you forced me to do." Her voice was ice. "You killed my sister, Theron. Your arrogance, your pride, your certainty that you were untouchable. It left her vulnerable, left her pregnant and alone while you paraded around playing Alpha King. I loved her. You loved your power more." Liana's composure cracked. "You exiled Cain for the same arrogance, made him your scapegoat, when really it was you, always you. So I made a choice. Help Cain get revenge. Destroy everything you love. Make you feel what I felt. By betraying your own people," I stepped forward, fury burning. "By killing innocents? By making him suffer." Her eyes fixed on me. "And what better way than through you, the pathetic Omega he convinced himself to love, the replacement for my sister." "She's not a replacement," Theron snarled. "Isn't she?" Liana's smile was vicious. "Tell me, Alpha King,
If the bond hadn't chosen her, would you have looked twice at a broken wolf who couldn't shift? The question hit its mark. I saw Theron flinch, saw the guilt flash across his face. That's what I thought. Liana raised her hand, and I saw symbols glowing on her palm. Witch marks. Surprised? Serafina wasn't the only one with secrets. Our grandmother taught us both, but I studied deeper, darker. Stand down, Theron commanded, alpha power rolling out in waves. It didn't touch her. The witch marks glowed brighter, repelling his influence. Oh, Theron, you can't command what you don't understand. She moved her hands in a complex pattern, chanting in a language that made my teeth ache. Now let me show you what real power looks like. Purple light exploded from her hands, hitting Theron square in the chest. He went down hard, gasping. I felt it through the bond. Agony, his wolf being suppressed, power draining. No! I lunged for him, but Liana flicked her wrist. Invisible force slammed me into a wall. Stay there, little Luna. Her voice was almost gentle. Watch while I finish what Cain began. Forbidden magic, designed specifically to weaken alphas. By the time it's done, Theron will be nothing but a shell, powerless, broken, just like my sister was when she died. Theron tried to rise, fell back. Blood trickled from his nose, not silver like mine, but human, mortal. The bond screamed between us. I felt his pain, his fury, his desperate need to protect me even as he lay dying. Warriors moved to attack Liana, but she gestured carelessly. They froze mid-stride, held by invisible chains.
Now you understand, she said to Theron. This is what helplessness feels like, what Serafina felt, what you'll feel watching your precious Luna die. Something inside me snapped. Not fear, not panic, pure, incandescent rage. You don't touch him! My voice came out different, layered with power I'd never accessed before. Never! Silver light exploded from my body, not controlled, not gentle, raw lunar power channeled through fury and love and absolute refusal to let her hurt him. The blast caught Liana off guard, throwing her backward. Her witch marks flickered, weakened. I stood, power crackling around me like lightning. The bond between Theron and me blazed bright enough to see, silver and gold intertwined, stronger than any magic. You want to hurt him? I walked forward, each step leaving silver footprints that glowed. You'll have to kill me first. That can be arranged. Liana rose, hands already weaving another spell. But I was faster, drew on everything Theron had taught me, combat, power, instinct, created a shield and pushed it outward like a battering ram. It hit her with the force of a charging wolf. She crashed through the wall, disappeared into the courtyard beyond. I dropped to my knees beside Theron, hands already glowing with healing light. Hold on, please hold on. Freya, his voice was weak. She's too strong. I'm stronger. I poured power into him, feeling his wolf stir, his strength returning. I love you. That makes me stronger than any magic she's got. The purple taint in his system fought back, but I burned it away with lunar fire. Slowly, agonizingly, his color returned, his breathing steadied. A horn blast echoed across the territory. What's that? I gasped. The commander, freed from Liana's hold, looked stricken. The siege horn! It means... Cain's army is at the gates. Hundreds of rogues, all waiting for my signal to attack. Surrender the Eclipse Luna or everyone dies. You have 10 minutes to decide. She vanished into smoke, leaving chaos behind. Theron struggled to sit up, still weak but alive.
We need to evacuate non-combatants, prepare defenses. We can hold them off until— No, I stood, decision crystallizing. This ends tonight. Cain wants me. He can have me. Freya, no! I kissed him, quick and fierce. Trust me, trust the bond. I'll come back. Then I was running, towards the gates, towards the army, towards the final confrontation. Behind me, I heard Theron's anguished roar, felt the bond pulling, begging me to return. But I kept running, because some things were worth dying for, and he was everything.
Chapter 15. Sacrifice. The territory gates loomed before me, massive iron and ancient stone. Beyond them, I could see the rogue army, hundreds of glowing eyes in the darkness, a sea of wolves waiting to kill. And at the center, Cain Bloodfang. His scarred face was illuminated by torchlight, that ruined smile promising pain. Eclipse Luna, his voice carried across the distance. Come to surrender? How noble! I stopped at the gates, breathing hard. Behind me, I felt Theron approaching, weakened but coming anyway, unable to stop himself. Freya, don't! His hand caught my arm. There's another way. What way? I turned to face him, saw the desperation in his golden eyes. They'll break through eventually, kill everyone. This is the only choice. Then I come with you. You can barely stand. I touched his face, memorizing the lines of it. Lyanna's magic nearly killed you. I don't care. His voice broke. I just found you, just told you I love you. I can't, I won't lose you like I lost her. The comparison stung, but I understood. This was his nightmare repeating, watching someone he loved walk toward death. I'll come back, I whispered. I promise. You can't promise that. Yes, I can. I kissed him, desperate and fierce and full of everything I felt. Because I'm not that scared Omega anymore. I'm the Eclipse Luna, and I'm going to end this. I pulled away before he could respond, turned back to the gates. Open them, I commanded the guards. They looked to Theron. He stood silent for a long moment, every muscle rigid with the effort of not stopping me. Then, barely audible, do it. The gates groaned open. I walked through alone, each step taking me farther from safety. The bond stretched between us like a physical cord, pulling tighter with distance. Behind me, I heard Theron's anguished sound. Not quite a howl, not quite a scream. The sound of a male watching his mate walk toward death. The rogue army parted as I approached, creating a path straight to Cain. Hundreds of wolves, all watching with hungry eyes. The smell of them, unwashed, wild, corrupted, made my wolf snarl. But I kept walking. Cain waited on a raised platform, Lyanna beside him. She looked worse for wear. My attack had hurt her. Good. The Eclipse Luna herself. Cain's smile widened, pulling at scar tissue. How generous of you to deliver yourself. I'm here. Let them go. My voice didn't shake. That was the deal. Was it? He tilted his head, mockery in every line. I don't recall promising anything. I said surrender or they die. You surrendered. They still might die anyway. Ice flooded my veins. You lied! I adapted. He descended from the platform, circling me like prey. See, the plan was simple. Use your blood in a ritual to break the moon-wolf bond. Create an army of rogues with no alpha to command them. Chaos. Freedom. You call this freedom?
I gestured to his army. They're slaves to their rage. They're free of hierarchy, of dominance, of alphas like Theron who exile those beneath them. His ruined face twisted with hatred. I was his defense chief, his friend. When Seraphina died, he needed someone to blame, someone to punish, so he chose me, scarred me, exiled me. Because you failed to protect her. Because he needed a scapegoat. Cain's roar echoed across the field. He was responsible, his arrogance, his certainty that no one would dare attack his mate, but I paid the price. So you allied with her sister, I said, pieces falling into place. Liana wanted revenge too. We wanted justice. Liana stepped forward, and we'll have it. Tonight, under the eclipse, we'll use your power to sever every wolf-moon bond in 5 territories. No more alphas, no more hierarchy, just chaos. The eclipse? My blood ran cold. That's in 10 minutes. Cain's smile was victorious. Perfect timing, and you're going to help us whether you want to or not. Rogues grabbed me before I could react. 4 of them, massive and strong. They dragged me to the platform where a ritual circle had been carved into the stone. Ancient symbols glowed with sickly purple light. No! I struggled, but they chained me in the center. Silver chains, the one metal that could hold even an eclipse luna. Cain approached with a knife. This won't hurt much. He cut my wrist. Silver blood welled up, dripping into the ritual circle. The symbols blazed brighter, hungry. Pain lanced through me, not physical, but deeper. I felt connections to wolves across the territory, thin threads of moon bond, and the ritual was pulling at them, trying to sever them. No! No! I won't let you! I pulled against the chains, felt them bite deeper. In the distance, I heard howling, Theron's pack, feeling the bonds weaken, feeling the moon's connection slip. Stop fighting! Liana began chanting, witch magic amplifying the ritual. It's already done. In 5 minutes, every wolf in 5 territories will be severed from the moon. Rogue, wild, perfect.
The moon began to darken, eclipse starting. I felt it then. Not just the bonds to Theron's pack, but all of them. Hundreds of connections, threads of light linking wolves to the moon, to their humanity, to their choice. Cain wanted to cut those threads, turn everyone into monsters like him. You're right about one thing, I said through gritted teeth. This ends tonight. It does. Cain looked smug. With your power and our will, we'll remake. Not with your will. I met his eyes, with mine. I stopped resisting the ritual. Instead, I embraced it. The ritual wanted my blood, wanted my power. Fine, it could have all of it. I opened myself completely to the moon, to the eclipse, to the lunar energy flowing through every cell. Not fighting, not controlling, just channeling. Silver light exploded from my body. Cain screamed, Liana's chanting faltered. The ritual circle meant to break bonds, instead amplified them. My power flooding through every connection, strengthening instead of severing. What are you doing? Liana shrieked. Taking control. My voice echoed with lunar power. You wanted to use me? Congratulations. You get all of me. I poured everything into the bonds, every ounce of power, every drop of strength, every bit of life force. The chains shattered under the force of it.
I rose, floating above the platform, pure lunar energy incarnate. And through it all, I felt Theron, our bond blazing like the sun, his love and terror and desperate need crashing through me. "I love you," I sent to him. "Always." Then I detonated. Silver light consumed everything, the platform, the ritual, Cain's army, purifying, healing, forcing corrupted rogues back to their true selves, restoring what they'd lost. Cain and Lyanna screamed as the light touched them. No mercy, no salvation. They'd chosen darkness, and the moon's light burned them to ash. But the cost, I felt my life draining, saw silver blood pouring from my eyes, nose, mouth. The power was consuming me from within, using me as a conduit for more energy than any mortal body could hold. Worth it, I thought, as darkness crept in. They're safe. He's safe. That's enough. The last thing I heard before everything went black was Theron's howl. Pure anguish. The sound of a mate bond breaking. Then, nothing.
Chapter 16. Eclipse. The bond was dying. I felt it unraveling thread by thread as Freya's life force drained, felt her determination, her love, her certainty that sacrificing herself was worth it. "No!" I roared, shifting mid-stride. My black wolf tore across the battlefield, past warriors locked in combat with the few rogues who'd breached our lines. But the ritual site was protected by a barrier, shimmering purple, witch magic and lunar power twisted together. I slammed into it at full speed and bounced back, yelping. Inside, I could see her, floating, glowing, dying. "Freya!" I howled, throwing myself at the barrier again. "Don't leave me!" Through our bond, I felt her response, weak, fading, but full of love. "Had to. They're safe. You're safe." "I don't care about safe." I shifted to human form, pounding fists against the barrier until they bled. "I care about you!" The eclipse was total now. The moon completely dark, blood red around the edges. And inside that darkness, Freya burned like a dying star. Warriors gathered behind me, my pack, what remained of the rogue army she'd purified, even wolves from neighboring territories who'd felt the bonds strengthen instead of break. "Alpha King," Commander Marcus said quietly, "the barrier is too strong. Even combined, we can't." "Then I'll tear it down alone." I pressed both hands against the invisible wall, let my alpha power flood through me, every ounce of dominance, every bit of strength, everything I had. The barrier flickered, weakened, but held. Inside, Freya's light was dimming. I could see silver blood covering her, could feel her heartbeat slowing through our bond. I'm losing her, just like Seraphina. I'm losing her, and I can't... No. Not like Seraphina. I hadn't been there then, hadn't had a chance to fight for her, but I was here now, and I would tear apart reality itself before I let Freya die alone. "Everyone with me," I commanded. "Pour your power into the barrier. All of it, now." They obeyed instantly. 50 wolves, channeling their strength through me. I became a conduit, gathering their combined might and slamming it into the barrier with everything I possessed. It shattered. I ran to her, caught her as she fell from the air. Her body was cold, too cold, and covered in silver blood that glowed faintly in the darkness. "Freya," I cradled her against my chest. "Open your eyes, please." Nothing. Her chest barely moved. The bond between us was a thread now, gossamer thin, ready to snap. No, you promised." My voice broke. "You promised to come back. You promised." Her lips moved, barely a whisper. "Love, you Enough. It's not enough! Tears streamed down my face. I didn't care who saw. You're not allowed to leave. Do you hear me? I forbid it. A smile ghosted across her lips. Then her heart stopped. The bond snapped. Pain unlike anything I'd ever felt exploded through me. Worse than Seraphina. Worse than death. This was my soul being torn out. Everything that made me whole being ripped away. I threw back my head and howled, a sound of absolute loss that shook the ground, that echoed across all 5 territories, that carried the weight of a broken mate bond. Wolves everywhere felt it. Hundreds dropped to their knees, unable to withstand the grief radiating from their alpha king. Then take me with you. I pressed my forehead to hers, felt her cooling skin. I won't live without you. Can't live without you. The moon remained dark, eclipse total, as if even the moon mourned. I'm sorry, Seraphina, I thought. I failed again, failed to protect the one I love. But something stirred in me. Defiance, rage, refusal. No, I'd accepted Seraphina's death because I had no choice. But Freya was here, still here, and the bond might be broken, but I wasn't. I gathered every bit of alpha power I possessed, everything that made me king, everything that made me dominant, everything that made me her mate. Forced it through the broken bond, like pushing blood through a severed artery. You don't get to leave me, I growled against her hair. You're mine, and I'm not done with you yet. Power flooded from me into her, golden light chasing silver through her veins, trying to restart what had stopped, trying to anchor her to life through sheer will. The moon responded. Light descended from the eclipse, pure silver, not the blood red of shadow. It wrapped around us both, and I heard a voice that wasn't quite sound, wasn't quite thought. Eclipse Luna cannot die while the moon exists, but she needs an anchor. Will you be her tether to life, Alpha King? Will you bind yourself to her completely, knowing you cannot survive without her? Yes, no hesitation. Anything, everything, just bring her back. Then let the bond reform, stronger than before, permanent. Power surged through me, mine and the moon's combined. I felt the bond snap back into place, but different now, not just connection, fusion. Our souls intertwined so completely that I couldn't tell where I ended and she began. Freya gasped. Her heart beat, once, twice, steady. Her eyes opened, but they weren't gray anymore. Pure silver, glowing, permanent marks of the moon's blessing.
Theron? Her voice was confused. What? I kissed her, desperate and grateful and full of everything I'd thought I'd lost. She was alive, warm, real. You died, I said against her lips. Your heart stopped, the bond broke, and My voice failed. I felt it. She touched my face, wonder in her expression. Felt you refuse to let me go. Felt you pour everything into bringing me back. I told you. I held her tighter, needing to feel her solid and whole. You're mine. That means I don't accept losing you, ever. The moon above us blazed, eclipse ending, full moon shining stronger than before, and with it came a wave of power that washed over every wolf in range. Healing, blessing, the Luna's gift to her people. Rogues who'd been corrupted found their minds clearing. Wounded warriors felt injuries mend. The very earth seemed to sigh with relief. Freya looked at her hands, moon marks glowing on her skin, brighter and more intricate than before. A mark blazed on her forehead in the shape of a crescent. I'm different, she whispered. You're tied to the moon now, permanently. I helped her stand, though she was shaky. The voice said, Eclipse Luna cannot die while the moon exists. You're immortal, Freya, as long as the moon shines." She stared at me. "And you? The bond, it feels different." "It is." I showed her my wrist, a silver mark there that matched hers. "We're connected completely now. Your immortality is mine. Your life is mine. We can't be separated, not by distance, not by death. If you die, I die." "Theron!" "I know, it's dangerous, reckless. Binding myself to you like this means if someone kills you, they kill me too." I cupped her face. "I don't care. I'd rather die with you than live without you. Never again. You understand? Never again." Tears streamed down her cheeks, silver now, like her blood. "I understand." Around us, hundreds of wolves knelt. The entire battlefield, every warrior and former rogue, heads bowed in recognition. "Eclipse Luna," they murmured, "blessed by the moon, savior of the territories." Freya looked at them, at the wolves who'd tried to kill her, now swearing loyalty, at the moon shining approval above, at me, her mate, her anchor, her forever. "It's over?" she asked. "It's over." I pulled her close. "Cain is ash. Lyanna is ash. The threat is ended. You won." "We won." She leaned into me, exhausted but alive. "Together." The moon blazed its agreement, and for the first time in 5 years, I felt whole. Not because the grief of Seraphina was gone, it never would be, but because I'd found something I thought impossible, a second chance, a second love, a future with Freya, always with Freya.
Chapter 17. Coronation. 1 week later, I stood before a mirror in quarters that had become truly mine. The moon marks glowed softly on my skin, silver patterns that pulsed with my heartbeat, visible proof of what I'd become. The crescent on my forehead blazed brightest, a permanent crown given by the moon herself. I touched it gently, still adjusting to the strangeness of immortality, of power that sang through my veins constantly, of being able to feel every wolf in the 5 territories through thin threads of connection. Nervous? Theron's reflection appeared behind mine. He was already dressed in formal Alpha King attire, black and gold, intimidating and regal. But his eyes were soft when they met mine in the mirror. "No." I turned to face him, surprised by my own honesty. I was nervous at the mating ritual, terrified of rejection, but now I gestured to myself, the marks, the power, everything I'd become. "I'm ready." "You earned this." He moved closer, hands settling on my waist. "No one gave it to you. You fought for it, died for it, came back stronger." "We came back stronger." I touched the silver mark on his wrist, the twin to mine, binding us forever. "Together." "Together," he agreed, then smiled. "Though I have to say, weeks ago when I found you crying in the forest, I never imagined we'd end up here." "You mean when you dragged me back to the clearing and claimed me in front of everyone?" I raised an eyebrow. "Very romantic." "I prefer decisive." His smile widened. "Besides, you didn't exactly make it easy. Running away, demanding your own room, that whole 'am I a replacement' crisis." I swatted his chest. "You couldn't even answer that question." "Because I was terrified." The honesty in his voice made me pause. "Terrified of failing you like I failed her. Terrified that loving you meant losing you. But Freya, you're not a replacement. You're not second choice. You're the love that taught me I could survive loss and still live. That taught me strength doesn't mean closing your heart." Tears pricked my eyes, silver, always silver now. That's the most romantic thing you've ever said. Don't get used to it. But his smile was tender. I'm still the possessive alpha who growls at anyone who looks at you too long. I know. I leaned up, kissed him softly. I like that about you.
A knock at the door interrupted. Eclipse Luna, it's time. Theron helped me into the dress he'd commissioned, silver silk that caught the light with every movement, elegant without being ostentatious. It left my marked arms bare, the moon's blessing visible for all to see. Beautiful, he murmured, absolutely radiant. Flattery will get you everywhere, Alpha King. I'm counting on it. He offered his arm, ready to be crowned. I took it, felt our bond hum with contentment. With you, for anything. We walked through the estate together, past guards who bowed, past servants who smiled with genuine warmth. The broken Omega they'd pitied was gone. In her place, there Luna. The coronation was being held in the same clearing where Marcus had rejected me. Full circle. We emerged from the forest to find it transformed. 3 times as many wolves as that first night, every pack in the 5 territories represented. Banners hung from trees, silver and gold catching sunlight. The sacred space buzzed with energy and anticipation. But all I could see was Marcus. He stood near the front with his father, Alpha Thomas. When our eyes met, he immediately dropped to one knee. The wolves around him followed suit until everyone in the clearing knelt. Everyone except Theron, who stood beside me as equal. Elder Moira approached, her ancient face warm with approval. 1 month ago, an Omega stood in this clearing alone, rejected and broken. Today, she returns as Luna of all 5 territories, eclipse blessed, moon marked, the most powerful Luna our people have ever known. The crowd murmured agreement, awe in their voices. Rise, I commanded gently. They obeyed as one. Today isn't just about me, it's about all of us, about what we survived together, what we built together. Movement at the edge of the crowd. Marcus stepped forward, hesitant. Eclipse Luna, he said formally, I come to ask public forgiveness for my rejection, for my blindness, for failing to see your worth. The clearing fell silent. Every eye turned to me, waiting. I looked at him, the male who'd broken my heart, who'd called me defective in front of hundreds. Part of me wanted to make him suffer, to revel in how thoroughly I'd proven him wrong. But that wasn't who I was anymore. You showed me that strength comes from the heart, not from shifting, that power isn't always visible. I was wrong, and I'm sorry. I accept your apology, Alpha Marcus. My voice carried across the clearing. But more than that, I forgive you. What you did hurt me, but it also freed me to become who I was meant to be. Relief flooded his face. Thank you, Eclipse Luna. I won't forget this mercy. See that you don't. The words were gentle but firm. He bowed and retreated. Theron pulled me to the center of the clearing, where a raised platform had been built. Elder Moira followed, carrying a ceremonial bowl of silver liquid, moon water, blessed under the full moon.
The claiming was done, she announced. The bond proven. But today we make it official before all 5 territories. Alpha King Theron Nightshade and Eclipse Luna Freya. Do you consent to complete your mate bond in the way of our ancestors? We consent, we said together. Theron's eyes blazed gold. Now we complete what we started. He pulled me close, tilted my head to expose my neck. I felt his teeth, not quite breaking skin yet, and anticipation shot through me. "Mine," he growled, "forever mine." "Yours," I breathed, "forever yours." He bit down. The claiming mark blazed to life, his teeth breaking skin, his power flooding into me through the wound. I gasped at the intensity, at the bond exploding between us stronger than ever. Then it was my turn. I shifted just my teeth, wolf canines sharp, and bit his neck in the same spot, tasted his blood, felt his power merge with mine. Silver and gold light erupted from where we were joined, the bond completed fully, not just connection anymore, but absolute fusion, two souls made one. When we pulled apart, marks blazed on both our necks, his in silver, mine in gold, reversed, complementary, perfect. The clearing erupted in howls, hundreds of wolves celebrating their alpha king and Luna's completed bond. But I barely heard it. I was lost in Theron's eyes, in the bond singing between us, in the certainty that this was right. "I love you," he said against my lips. "I love you." I kissed him, deep and claiming and full of promise. When we finally pulled apart, Elder Moira was smiling. She dipped her fingers in the moon water, traced symbols on my forehead. "By the power of the moon and the will of the people, I name you Eclipse Luna of all 5 territories, blessed and crowned. May your reign be long and prosperous." A crown of pure light formed over my head, lunar energy made visible, the moon's approval manifest. Theron took my hand, raised it high, his voice carried with alpha command, with pride, with love. "My mate, my Luna, my queen." The territory howled, hundreds of voices raised in celebration, in loyalty, in joy. I looked out over the crowd, felt the connections to every wolf present. These were my people, my pack, my responsibility. And for the first time in my life, I belonged completely. Not because someone chose me, because I chose myself. The broken Omega was gone. The Eclipse Luna stood in her place, and her story was just beginning. Chapter 18. Epilogue. The castle balcony overlooked all of Nightshade territory, and from here I could see everything. Dawn was breaking, the moon still visible in the pale sky, reluctant to yield to the sun. My moon, the one that had blessed me, saved me, bound me to its eternal cycle. I leaned against the stone railing, breathing in the cool morning air. Below, the territory was at peace. Guards patrolled with easy confidence. Families emerged from homes to start their day. Children played in the training grounds, mock fighting with wooden swords. Peace, hard-won and precious. "Can't sleep, Luna?" I smiled without turning. The bond told me Theron was approaching before his footsteps did, warm and solid and utterly mine. "Keep waiting to wake up," I admitted as he wrapped his arms around me from behind. "Find out it was all a dream, that I'm still the broken Omega who couldn't shift." "You were never broken." He pressed a kiss to my marked neck, right over his claiming bite. "Just sleeping, waiting for the right moment to awake." "Poetic. Did Elder Moira teach you that?" His laugh rumbled against my back. "I'm capable of poetry, sometimes, when properly motivated." I turned in his arms, meeting those golden eyes that had first found me crying in the forest. And am I proper motivation? You're everything. He said it simply, like stating a fact. My mate, my Luna, my reason for breathing. No pressure, but warmth bloomed in my chest. You can handle it. His smile turned serious. Freya, I need to tell you something. Reports came in last night from scouts at the western border. My body tensed. Trouble? Not yet, but there are wolves watching us from territories beyond the Five. They're curious about the eclipse Luna, about what happened with Pain, about— he hesitated— about power that strong. I'd been expecting this, dreading it, but expecting it. They'll challenge us eventually, I said quietly. Come to test if the stories are true, if I'm really as powerful as they've heard. Let them come. His voice hardened, Alpha King emerging. They'll learn what happens when they threaten what's mine. Ours, I corrected gently. What's ours? His expression softened. Ours, he agreed. But Freya, this won't be the last threat. Being Eclipse Luna means being a target. Wolves who want your power, witches who want to study it, enemies who think killing you means killing me too. I know. I touched the crescent mark on my forehead. Immortality doesn't mean safety, just that we have time to face whatever comes. Together, he said firmly. Everything together. That's the deal. That's the deal. I leaned up, kissed him softly. Besides, I'm not that scared Omega anymore. I've died and come back, faced down rogue armies, turned a rejection into a crowning. Whatever comes next, we'll handle it, we said together, then laughed.
This story ends here. Thanks for listening. Comment if you want a part 2 and subscribe for more stories.